Why are so many people drowning in distractions, yet calling it relaxation? In a world addicted to instant dopamine, real discipline is the rarest skill. We praise comfort like it's a reward, but isn't it the very trap that keeps most people weak, anxious, and unfulfilled? Society tells you to avoid pain, avoid struggle, avoid silence. But what if those are the exact tools that build an unbreakable mind? Welcome to StoicCraft, the channel where timeless Stoic wisdom meets the chaos of modern life. Here, we don't just share philosophy. We forge mental weapons you can use daily to overcome doubt, distraction, and fear. You are not here by accident. There is something inside you, quiet but powerful, that refuses to be silenced. It is the part of you that pushes back against stagnation, the voice that keeps asking questions even when you feel exhausted. Maybe you've already tried every method you could find. You've practiced self-discipline, created ambitious plans, built habits, and listened to countless motivational talks. And yet, despite all of that, you still find yourself stuck in the same loop, procrastinating, drained of energy, questioning your worth, doubting your ability to move forward. Let me be very clear. The problem is not your willpower. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not lacking ambition. The real issue is this: your brain has been programmed incorrectly. And it wasn't you who wrote that program. It was written by your past experiences, your fears, the constant noise of society, and the unconscious habits you adopted without even noticing. Your brain reacts to old wounds. It dodges discomfort and runs toward ease. No one ever sat you down and taught you how to train your mind, how to master the voice within, how to command your reactions, and how to stand as firm as stone in the middle of life's storms. But today that changes. Because right now you're about to discover 9 powerful mental weapons to reprogram your brain from the inside out. They are built on the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, the discoveries of psychology and neuroscience, and the unshakable discipline of practice. If you're ready, let's begin. Weapon 1. Pain conditioning. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your training ground. If you truly want to build a mind that cannot be broken, then you must learn to step into pain, not with fear, but with intention. Think of pain like weights in a gym. Resistance is how you build strength. Avoiding pain is avoiding growth. You cannot become mentally unshakable while you cling desperately to comfort. The truth is harsh, but it is also liberating. Your mind is not forged in ease. It is forged in fire. Your brain doesn't evolve when everything feels good. It evolves when it is under pressure. When you willingly put yourself in uncomfortable situations, when you face your fears, when you push yourself to do the things you don't want to do, that is when the nervous system begins to rewire. That is the exact moment you stop being prisoner of instinct and start becoming the commander of your own mind. Most people never win, not because they lack talent, but because they lack tolerance for pain. They want the reward without the effort. They want the glory without the grind. They want transformation without the discomfort that gives birth to it. And that's why they break. Not because of failure, but because of their resistance to suffering. Comfort becomes their addiction. Avoidance becomes their prison cell. But you are here for something more. You are here to turn pain into power. When you embrace pain conditioning, you retrain your brain's reward system. You override its constant craving for instant pleasure and teach it a higher truth, that dopamine hits harder after discipline. The satisfaction you feel after facing what you once feared, that is the real chemical high. Unlike the fleeting rush of scrolling social media or indulging in sugar, this reward endures. It builds self-respect. It rewires your identity. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is not poetic metaphor. This is neuroscience. Your brain obeys what you repeat. If you train it every day to seek comfort, it becomes fragile. But if you train it to connect effort with reward, it stops fearing pain and starts feeding on it. That is the essence of mental toughness. That is how you become unbreakable. The line between those who stay average and those who rise above is not luck. It is not motivation. It is how they treat pain. The average person runs away from it. The mentally elite run toward it. They know that every ounce of struggle is sharpening the sword within. Look at David Goggins, who runs until his feet bleed. He is not chasing pain. He is building a mind that no one can break. His power does not come from inspirational quotes. It comes from deliberately doing hard things, again and again, until struggle becomes his normal environment. Every time you endure small discomforts, waking up before dawn, embracing cold, showers, finishing the difficult task you wanted to delay, you build mental antibodies. You train your brain to face, not to flee. Each time you whisper to yourself, "This hurts, but I am still in control," you strengthen your identity. You are no longer the person who avoids difficulty. You become the person who conquers it. Let this be your new standard. Do something difficult every single day, not to punish yourself, but to prepare yourself. Because life will test you whether you like it or not. And when it does, you don't want comfort as your coach. You want pain, trained, disciplined, weaponized, standing behind you like a loyal soldier. Pain doesn't stop you. Fear of pain does not, and when you condition your mind through chosen suffering, fear dissolves. You become mentally bulletproof, not because life is easier, but because you have trained in fire. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is your personal trainer. Comfort weakens you. Chosen struggle transforms you into someone unstoppable. Weapon 2. The identity hack. Here's the brutal truth. You don't act based on what you want. You act based on who you believe you are. That's why so many people fail. You've tried motivation. You've tried planning. But every time you step forward, your subconscious pulls you 2 steps back. Why? Because your brain doesn't obey your goals. It obeys your identity. If deep down you carry the silent belief that you are lazy, weak, inconsistent, or unworthy, your brain will sabotage every attempt to live differently. This is not weakness. This is programming. And to break free, you need to hack your identity. This is the art of rewriting the invisible script that runs your life. It is not about who you've been told you are. It is about deciding with clarity and conviction who you choose to be, the disciplined version of you, the unafraid version of you, the relentless, unstoppable version of you. When you master identity, you unleash a self that no longer asks for permission to grow. It commands growth. But before you can rewrite your identity, you must understand why you've been trapped for so long. You weren't born with doubt. Doubt was downloaded into you through years of criticism, failure, comparison, trauma, and endless repetition. Somewhere along the way, voices told you that you weren't good enough, and worse than that, you believed them. Once you accepted those words, you began protecting your limits, defending them as if they were truth. You said things like, "I'm not a morning person," or "I've always been this way." But those are not truths. They are cages, identity cages, and the brain obeys them as if they are law. Your brain adapts your behavior to match your identity. Psychologists call this blueprint the self-schema, your mind's internal map of who you are. If that blueprint whispers, "I'm a failure," then your actions collapse to fit the mold. But here's the good news. If you rewrite the blueprint, your habits follow. Muhammad Ali understood this long before the world believed in him. He declared, "I am the greatest." At first, even he didn't fully believe it. But his brain heard it. And when the brain hears a command often enough, it reshapes reality to match. So how do you hack identity? You start by choosing it. Decide who you are. Say it out loud. I finish what I start. I show up no matter how I feel. I refuse to quit. When things get hard, say it every morning, every night, and especially in the moments when you feel small. Even when it feels fake, say it louder. Because repetition is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. Then, act in alignment. It doesn't take a grand gesture. One small act of courage, one simple promise kept, one moment of resistance overcome. That's how you convince the brain this new identity is real. You don't become what you want. You become what you believe. So act as if you already are, the version of yourself you dream of becoming, and the brain will follow. But belief alone isn't enough. Identity must be reinforced again and again through daily rituals. And this is where the real war begins, the battle of repetition. Weapon 3. Repetition ritual. Your brain doesn't care what you want. It doesn't care how much you hope, how deeply you dream, or how strongly you intend. It only cares about one thing, what you repeat. This is where most people fail. Not because they are weak, not because they lack ambition, but because they put more faith in the fire of motivation than in the quiet power of repetition. Motivation is noise, loud, flashy, and gone before you even begin. Repetition is code, it's structure. It's the invisible scaffolding that rewires the mind from the inside out. A repetition ritual is not just a habit. It's not a simple routine. It's a conscious act of reclaiming authority over your own programming. And whether you realize it or not, you already live by rituals. Every day you scroll, you doubt, you delay, you compare, you quit. And then you wonder why nothing changes. But the truth is simple. Your brain learns what you rehearse. It obeys what you repeat. You don't become what you do once. You become what you do daily. Your subconscious is always watching, always listening, and always hard-coding patterns, not based on your intentions, but on your actions. And if you don't design repetition, rituals by choice, you will live trapped in rituals of default, anxiety, shame, distraction, Self-doubt. Think of Kobe Bryant. He wasn't just great because of talent. He was legendary because of repetition. He trained before sunrise, running the same drills thousands of times, not because he didn't know the moves, but because he was programming his nervous system so that in moments of pressure, his body and mind moved without hesitation. That is what repetition ritual does. It transforms conscious effort into unconscious mastery. It turns practice into dominance. So ask yourself, what are you repeating? You don't need to wait for perfect confidence. You can write affirmations even when your voice trembles. You can do 10 push-ups when your body begs to scroll. You can repeat a new identity even when your old one screams louder. Transformation does not begin with confidence. It begins with command. Say it. Do it. Again, the real power of repetition reveals itself on the days you don't want it. When every fiber of your being craves comfort, and you show up anyway, that's when the code begins to change. That's when the new identity takes hold. So start small, but be ruthless. Read 1 page. Meditate for 2 minutes. Say your goal out loud. Walk without your phone. Speak your truth. Then do it again tomorrow and the day after, without apology. Because greatness is not built in peaks of passion. It is built in the trenches of repetition. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your rituals. If you're still wondering why your life hasn't changed, look closely at your rituals. They are your identity in action. But repetition alone is not enough. Because what happens when the system you've built comes under attack? What happens when emotions spike? When resistance pushes back? When your mind turns into a battlefield? That's when you activate Weapon 4, mental warfare mode. It's about choosing discipline over fleeting emotion, duty over the voice of doubt, and mission over the shifting moods of the moment. Viktor Frankl, a man who endured the unimaginable horrors of Nazi concentration camps, lost his family, his freedom, and his future, but he never lost his spirit. Amid cruelty and suffering beyond comprehension, he made one radical choice: to assign meaning to pain. That single choice became his source of power, because no man, no force, no cruelty could strip him of the command he held within himself. And that is your challenge now, to reclaim command of your own inner battlefield. Mental warfare mode begins the moment you stop waiting for the perfect time to feel ready. You name the war you're fighting. Is it fear, procrastination, regret? You declare it out loud and write your battle orders. I am not my emotion. I act on my mission. You build rituals of resistance, morning practices that remind you of who you're becoming, visualizations that rehearse your victories, affirmations, not of comfort, but of conquest. Because here's the unshakable truth: what you repeat becomes who you are. Doubt repeated turns into identity. Complaints practiced long enough become your character. Quitting rehearsed daily becomes your destiny. But the same is true for strength, for resolve, for courage. If you repeat these, they too become identity, character, destiny. You must train your mind like a warrior trains for war. Not once, not only when it's convenient, but every single day. This path is not for everyone. But if you are still here, if you're listening with intent, then it's because something in you already knows. You are meant for more than your excuses. Weapon 5, Self-talk rewired in every mental battle. The most dangerous enemy is not the world outside you. It's the voice within your own head. That inner voice whispers constantly, sometimes softly, sometimes screaming, and over time you begin to believe it. Not because it speaks truth, but because your brain is wired to believe whatever is repeated often enough. Thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I always fail, I can't change. Even when fleeting, if repeated, they become the invisible map guiding your entire life. You're not trapped by external reality. You're trapped inside a prison of negative self-talk, a prison you've unknowingly constructed over the years. The tragedy is that no one ever taught you how to break free. We're taught from childhood how to speak politely to others, but we're never trained to speak to ourselves with the strength of a coach or the compassion of a friend. So when opportunity knocks, we hesitate. When failure hits, we assume we were never worthy in the first place. Yet science has already proven that self-talk shapes your emotions, your behaviors, and even your neurochemistry. A small shift in words, from I can't to I'm learning, activates brain regions responsible for focus and recovery. This isn't fluffy positive thinking. This is biology. Your brain is the soil. Your words are the seeds. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." True freedom doesn't come from controlling the outside world. It comes from controlling the story you tell yourself every day. You can have clear goals, solid plans, and a mountain of willpower, but if your inner voice betrays you, you'll collapse before you even take the first step. Take the story of Brian, a long-distance runner who used to quit halfway through every race. His legs weren't giving out. His stamina was enough. But his inner dialogue whispered the same lie on repeat. I'm not cut out for this. That voice didn't just echo doubt. It programmed defeat. And like so many, Brian didn't realize he wasn't fighting the run. He was fighting his own subconscious. One day he decided to rewrite the script. He began telling himself, I am someone who finishes, even when it hurts. He said it during every run, every day. At first, nothing seemed different. By day 30, his mindset began to shift. By day 60, quitting felt unnatural. By day 90, he crossed the finish line of his first marathon. Not because his body had transformed, but because his mind had been retrained to finish. Your brain obeys repetition. Train it, or be trapped by it. If you truly want to become unstoppable, start by observing your self-talk. Write it down, question it, replace it, and most importantly, repeat the words you want to believe until they become your reality. Say them out loud. Record them. Listen to your own voice. Speak the identity you're building. You have two choices. Continue to live under a voice that was never truly yours, or become the architect of your inner language, reshaping your destiny one sentence at a time. And if you're still here, it means you've chosen the harder path, the path of mental training. The fact that you've made it this far already proves your seriousness. But don't stop here, because the most powerful part still lies ahead. Weapon 6, Victory Delay Mode. Lily, painted in the dark for 10 long years. No audience, no praise, no recognition. Each canvas was a piece of her soul poured into silence. Every morning she opened her paints, raised her brush, and kept going, while others abandoned their dreams after only a few months. Then one day, her 3,417th painting was purchased by a renowned collector for a life-changing price. But here's the real point. It wasn't the money that changed Lily's life. It was the mental strength she had forged through a decade of persistence. Lily represents a rare mindset in today's world, the mindset of those who are willing to live for a result worth waiting for, even if it takes a lifetime to arrive. And in a society where everything is measured in seconds, likes, views, notifications, the ability to endure and to wait has become a superpower. Sadly, most people have lost it. They crave fast results. They demand instant success without ever paying the price. And when those results don't appear quickly, they quit. But that's not just failure. That's spiritual surrender. Because on the battlefield of the mind, the true winner isn't the fastest. It is the one who refuses to quit. Victory delay mode is the mental weapon of those who stay committed to the long term. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't chase praise. It runs on discipline alone. When you enter this mode, you stop living for dopamine hits and instant gratification. You start living like a stoic warrior, acting from principle, not from passing emotions. The famous marshmallow experiment in psychology revealed this. Children who could delay gratification ended up succeeding more in every area of life. Why? Because delaying victory is self-mastery, and self-mastery is the foundation of all lasting achievement. Your brain can be rewired to choose hard over easy, vision over impulse, training over surrender. And here's where the practice begins. Choose a mission that is worth waiting for, something so meaningful you would continue pursuing it, even if no one ever applauded, even if no one ever noticed. Track your effort each day, not just the outcomes. Count the times you refuse to give up, because perseverance itself is proof of progress. And when you feel like progress is slow, whisper this truth to yourself. My results are delayed, not denied. You don't need to shine right now. You only need to last long enough that eventually no one can ignore you. When you train your mind to embrace victory delay mode, you don't just win, you become unbreakable. There is no greater power than the person who can wait and still refuse to back down. Weapon 7. Target. Lock. The reason you fail is not because you lack goals. You fail because you don't stay locked on a single goal long enough to hit it. That's why you feel drained but unfulfilled. That's why you're always busy yet strangely ineffective. Your mind is scattered, pulled in 100 different directions, but none of those thoughts ever cross the finish line. Target lock is the art of isolation. It is the discipline of focusing all your energy on one objective and muting the noise of the world. Like a stoic sniper on the battlefield of the mind, you don't flinch at distractions. You don't chase every urgent but unimportant thing that flashes before you. You hold your gaze steady, eyes fixed on the target, until the moment comes to pull the trigger. Here's the truth. Your brain is not built for multitasking. Every time you switch tasks, your brain must reload its focus. Science calls this attention residue, the lingering mental aftershock of distraction. And it is the silent killer of deep work. It keeps you from entering flow, that rare and beautiful state when work feels like dancing with your own mind. In flow, time disappears, doubt vanishes, and all that remains is pure performance. The more you allow your attention to be hijacked, the deeper you fall into the cycle. More tasks, less depth, mediocre results, and a creeping sense of uselessness. But when you discipline yourself to practice target lock, you unlock a level of performance most people never experience. Take Paul, for example. A sharp mind trapped in the chaos of digital addiction, unable to sit still for more than 10 minutes. His goals weren't the problem, his focus was. But in just 6 weeks, everything changed. Not through a life coach, not through a miracle, but through one simple decision, one deep focused task per day. Executed with ruthless intention, that was enough. He didn't need more opportunities. He needed fewer excuses. The result? A startup came to life. His confidence, once shattered, began to rebuild. Habits he'd lost to dopamine loops were reforged. In discipline, he stopped reacting to life and started commanding it. Paul didn't change the world, he changed his brain, and that changed everything. So what about you? What would happen if you trained your mind like that? The truth is, it can be you too. To build target lock, start simple. Just 30 minutes a day. No phone, no multitasking, no distractions. Sit down and whisper to yourself, nothing exists except this. Say it again. Then act on it. Your brain will resist at first, but over time it will learn, it will obey. And eventually you will become the master of your own mind. Don't let distractions steal your life. You don't need more goals, you need one decisive strike. And you can only deliver it when your entire mind is locked onto the target. Weapon 8. Dopamine shutdown. Here's the truth. You're not lazy. You're not undisciplined. What's really happening is that you're being stolen from every day, not by someone else, but by the little things you touch constantly. The harmless scroll on TikTok, the random ping of an Instagram notification, the 7-second video that makes you laugh and forget instantly. They all share one thing in common. They are thieves. They steal your dopamine, but they don't steal it to reward you. They steal it to keep you hooked, endlessly stimulated, training your brain to forget how to live in stillness and focus. You need to understand dopamine clearly. It isn't happiness. It is the fuel of pursuit. It's what drives you to act, to create, to build, to break through. But when you let it leak away on cheap, shallow stimuli, your brain loses direction. Instead of seeking reward through discipline and meaningful work, it starts craving reward through laziness, distraction, and delay. The more you scroll, the weaker your brain becomes. The more you chase empty entertainment, the duller life itself begins to feel. Here is the painful truth. Meaningful things start to feel boring. Reading becomes torture. Deep work feels like climbing a mountain. Even sitting in silence, something so simple, suddenly makes you restless, almost to the point of madness. Not because you lack ability, but because your brain has been rewired to crave instant pleasure and avoid discomfort at all costs. And that's when you need one thing: dopamine shutdown. This is the art of intentional withdrawal, cutting off the noise completely, removing the hooks of social media, screens, and addictive food. Not to punish yourself, but to reset your nervous system, refresh your senses, and rediscover the deep joy of real life. Take Ethan, for example, a young man who lost himself in an endless loop of YouTube shorts and TikTok scrolls. His days blurred into nights filled with stimulation but empty of purpose. Deep down, he knew something wasn't right. The problem wasn't the world. The problem was within him. So he made a decision most people wouldn't dare. For 14 days, he removed every source of cheap entertainment. No screens, no noise. Just a notebook and a few pages of Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus. The first days were brutal. His fingers twitched for the phone. His brain screamed for dopamine. But by day 5, something remarkable happened. For the first few days, Ethan's brain screamed for dopamine. Every nerve begged for the familiar hit of scrolling. Every impulse wanted the quick fix. But by day 5, the fog began to lift. His thoughts sharpened. Sounds became richer. Light felt more vivid. Emotions returned with a depth he hadn't felt in years. For the first time in so long, Ethan wasn't running, wasn't escaping. He was present, awake, alive, not surviving on scraps of shallow pleasure, but finally living with intention. You can do the same. It doesn't have to be extreme. You can begin with small steps. Turn off social media after 6 p.m. Don't touch your phone for the first 30 minutes after waking. Instead of consuming, write. Instead of scrolling, walk. Your brain will resist. At first, it will panic without its old comforts. But eventually, it will relearn what it had forgotten. How to focus, how to be patient, how to fall back in love with real life. Remember, your enemy is not laziness. It's relentless stimulation. That constant noise robs you of your ability to sit with peace, to stay present, to be still. To become unstoppable, you must master your dopamine. You must learn to love discipline more deeply than you crave short-term pleasure. Because once you've mastered your dopamine system, you're ready for the final weapon. The one that bends even your unconscious reactions and rewires your entire mental operating system. Weapon 9. Mind override. There's a war happening inside your head. And in this war, the enemy is subtle. It doesn't wear a uniform or march loudly toward you. It doesn't knock on your door. Instead, it whispers. It distracts. It convinces you that you're tired, that you can't, that tomorrow would be better. That voice isn't you. That's the voice of your automatic mind. And unless you learn to override it, it will own you. Mind override is not a theory. It's a discipline. It's what happens the moment you open your eyes and instead of obeying your feelings, you issue the command. When the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and your body begs for comfort, mind override whispers back, "We don't skip greatness." Because every time you surrender to that weak inner voice, you're not just skipping a task. You're programming your brain to fail. You're carving a pattern into your neural pathways that repeats in your future. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, said it best. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. That is the essence of mind override. You cannot always control the first thought. It appears like thunder, born of biology, habit, and memory. But the second thought, that is yours to command. And in that second thought, greatness is either won or lost. Without override, you become a slave to impulse. You trust your fears. You obey your doubts. You sink into comfort as if it were a drug, chasing dopamine, avoiding pain, and mistaking ease for peace. And almost without realizing it, you drift into mediocrity, not because you were meant to be average, but because you forgot that you had a choice. Think of Brandon, a young athlete who dreamed of going pro. Every morning he faced the same temptation. Stay in bed. It's cold. No one is watching. But instead of surrendering, he trained himself to answer with command, not complaint. Over time, his brain stopped resisting. Why? Because the brain learns what you repeat, not what you wish for. That simple override became his edge, his advantage, his weapon. You face the same battle every day. You plan to read, but you scroll. Instead, you want to study, but you delay. You swear you'll hit the gym, but your mind whispers, just skip it once. And that whisper wins, unless you train your override. Mind override is like a muscle. It grows only through resistance, through repetition, through pain. Every time you say no to the automatic reaction and yes to your command, you are doing more than winning a small moment. You are rewriting your identity. You are showing your brain who is truly in control. Speak to it like a general to his army, with clarity, with force, with direction. Say it out loud. I don't negotiate with fear. Say it again. This is who I am now. Your brain doesn't care what you hope for. It only cares what you repeat. So repeat strength. Repeat courage. Repeat action. Because in the end, you are not your thoughts. You are the commander of your thoughts. If you don't train your mind to obey you, it will train you to obey it. This is not about surface-level motivation. This is mental warfare. This is Stoicism reborn for the modern world, not as philosophy to read, but as fire to live by. Train your override, or you will be overrun by the very impulses you are trying to escape. So the choice is yours. Will you simply watch this message and nod, or will you live it? Will you merely remember these mental weapons, or will you draw them daily to conquer yourself? Because the hard truth is that no one is coming to save you. No one can train your mind except you. But here's the good news. You already hold everything you need. You've learned how to break the old programming. You now know how to override your mind, how to train your willpower, your identity, your dopamine, and your resilience. The brain is no longer your enemy. It is your greatest weapon if you learn to wield it. So sharpen it daily, like a warrior, sharpening his sword in silence. Live with intention. And if something inside you stirred while reading this, don't let that spark fade. This is not the end. It is the beginning. Your path to mental greatness starts now. If you had to choose one mental weapon from this video to sharpen starting tonight, which would it be? Share your answer in the comments. And if you're ready to keep building your unbreakable mind, explore the StoicCraft Mental Mastery playlist for more.